Today's big topic, mental health and willpower. Discipline is what separates the men from the boys. It's something that the Torah is clearly talks about discipline. I think the Gemara says that God loves a person who has self-control. So to the event that we have self-control, we have God in our lives. That's one of the things that we're tested. We know we are constantly tested with the Yodhs of Hara, we're constantly tested with temptations, and the key is self-control and willpower. Today, everything relates to it. There's a great book by Angela Duckworth. I think the book is called Grit. And she speaks about this concept called ratzon. Ratzon is willpower, which she says something beautiful. She says she did a test, and she says, what's the main factor producing success for people today? And what happens? She started studying kids and adults in very, very challenging settings. She went even to West Point Academy. She tested everybody, even the kids in spelling bees. She tested teachers in the toughest environments. Who was able to make it and who was not able to make it? And she says, according to all her reports, she says it was grit. We need to have grit. What does grit mean? Grit is passion and perseverance. If you speak about Rav Nachman's message, it's about falling down and getting up. Falling down and getting up. That's Rav Nachman's message. Whether you're going to think you're going to fall or not, you're going to fall many times. But Rav Nachman says, who's the winner? The guy is holding his hands at the end of the fight. And that's Rav Nachman's message. So she says here, grit is passion and perseverance for long-term goals. Grit is having stamina. Grit is sticking with your future, day in and day out. Not just a week, not I tried this, not I tried that. No, that wasn't success. The new IQ is not the most important thing today. Is I can. I can is bigger than IQ today. So that's what we have to build. Willpower, mental strength is something you could build. It's something that we have, our spirituality, Rav Nachman says, it's guarding our thoughts. So it's something very, very important. And I see today the people that are, thank God we have 6,000, 7,000 people on the WhatsApp group, and I see the people that are breaking through, and those people had perseverance. They woke up in the middle of the night praying. Those people fought darkness. They transformed darkness. They didn't run away from darkness. They put light into darkness. And I see the patterns of people. When you're able to speak to so many people, when you have so many people in a WhatsApp group, you could see, okay, who's succeeding, who's not succeeding. You know why? Because a humble person keeps on going. A person who's arrogant says, I did enough, I tried, not enough. So we're going to talk about the amazing messages Rav Nachman's going to say here in lesson 66 on what's the key to turning potential into actual. That means everything in life is like an aleph. Pretend you have the letter aleph, right? There's an upper yod, there's a lower yod. Your job is to turn potential into actual. And we know the yod has two yods. It has a yod on top, a yod on the bottom, and the vav's in the middle. That's the aleph. That's the numerical value of God's name 26. So anything in this world, you're going to have to go through potential, turning potential into actual. That's your job. That means actual does not just come. You have to first think about it, you have to have a goal, and turn it into actual. We're going to give you the key element on how to turn potential into actual. It's something very, very, very deep. So she's saying here, grit is living your life like a marathon, not a sprint. This is a marathon. This is what your soul. Remember, you are a soul. You don't have a soul. You are a soul. That means you come from God. Not I have this kind of soul, I have that soul. I am a soul that comes from God. That means my potential is limitless. But the only problem is the obstacles that I put in my head. What obstacles am I putting in my head? So what is he saying here? Self-discipline, the determination to stay on course until you reach your goal, is what separates the boys from the men. Self-discipline. That's the key. The ability to get angry. We have a lot of people, they start spiritually, they start on something, they jump off the ship, they get back on the ship. They jump off the ship, they get back on the ship. And then they're so exhausted from jumping off the ship and jumping on the ship. I just said, just stay on the ship. What do you keep on jumping off the ship for? You have to get there one way. You have to go through, you have to ride a ship. When we go off the ship, back on the ship, we tire ourselves out because of mental confusions. So, she's saying here, being disciplined even when no one's watching is the key. So that's the key. All the work is done at night. So, one of the things that I said to myself, what kind of person would I be today if I didn't care what I felt like, I just did things. I didn't let my feelings get in the way. And I said, that's the kind of person I need to be. Because if I want to hit goals in my life, I want to be where I want to be spiritually, financially, health, I can't listen to my feelings. I have to do. My actions have to determine my feelings. If I let my feelings determine my whole life, where am I going to go? The Yodh of Hara, we have to understand, we are born with two Yodhs. We are born with the Hatov, and we are born with the Yodh of Hara. It's in us. It's part of you. That means, depending on who you listen to, is where you're going to go in life. If you listen to the Yodh, you're going to get what you want. That means any negative thought comes from the Yodh of Hara. Any positive thought comes from the Yodh. Our job is to be mindful of the Yodh versus the Yodh of Hara. Right? It says, so we have to ask ourselves, what kind of person? That means if you want to get to where you want to get to, you have to shut the Yodh of Hara. Because the Yodh of Hara all day long is going to tell a person what's wrong with him. Oh, you're not going to succeed. Oh, what are you doing in his body? You don't even say nothing. You're speaking to a wall. Just don't do it. This is all nonsense. That's the Yodh of Hara's mission, is to create obstacles in a person. So we have to already picture ourselves to realize, who do I want to be? But today, what do we have? Buy now, pay later. That means I'll have my pleasure now, I'll pay later. Right? So we can't have it. We have to have delayed gratification. All studies showing today that the ability for a person to have delayed gratification was the determination between success or failure. What does that mean today? I have to cool down my impulse and heat up my vision. Remember that line. That means the impulses get you nowhere. You have to heat up your vision. So I have to have today, if I want to get to where I want to get today, I have to have delayed gratification. That means with guys, you want to have fun with this girl, etc., but it's killing your future. It's killing your future. You're going to lose your soulmate because you want to have fun. Your soulmate's out there, but you want to have fun. So you're not heating up your vision. You're cooling off your vision and you're heating up your impulse. We don't want that. Same thing with anything, with anger, any kind of habit that we want. We need to have self-control, discipline, and that's the power of willpower. And it's something we can build. We have to be comfortable with time and attention. We know the habits, it begins as a spider web, a habit. And then it becomes, the Baal Shem Tov says, then it becomes a rope on a wagon. That you're literally dragging, your habits are literally taking over you. I gave a class the other day on how to break patterns. That means we have to interrupt patterns of behavior. I'm not a pattern, I'm a soul. I've just created certain patterns that I don't like. So it takes 40 days to break any pattern. That means we have to get into a habit of interrupting patterns that we don't want. If you wake up in the morning thinking about the worst case scenario, you have to interrupt the pattern. You have to understand why you need willpower so much. Specifically, I tell people we have to master the mornings. Because if you wake up in the morning thinking about the worst case scenario, what's wrong with your life, what happens? You get mentally exhausted. When you get mentally exhausted, then by 10 o'clock, come, let's do this. I can't, I'm exhausted. So you say you're exhausted all the time. So willpower is like a battery. That means we want to preserve it. We don't want to set it right away completely exhausted. Stress is the number one factor in destroying willpower. So we have to realize, we have to have a new definition of stress. We have to embrace Emunah. So I can't have, people tell me, oh, I have so much anxiety, I have so much this. I said, you have to pay a tranquility tax. You know what tranquility tax is? That means anxiety doesn't just go away by thinking you're just going to meditate and go away. No, you have to question your thinking. You have to upgrade your knowledge. You have to listen to classes. Then your intellect will start identifying the triggers, and instead you'll say it's a challenge instead of a threat. But if a person doesn't work on his intellect, if he doesn't have the dot today, what happens? Of course he's going to be anxious. So anything that we want today, we have to pay a tax for it. It's not free. The Baal Shem Tov says this exactly. Look what he says here. He's saying here, the Baal Shem Tov gave this example. When a parent teaches a child to walk, he does so in the following manner. The child starts walking 2 or 3 steps towards the parent. Then what does the parent do? He walks back. Right? When your kid started walking, you don't hold his hand. You walk back because you want him to do it by himself. Are you being cruel by doing that? No. Is it look like nobody's holding him? But right? But it looks like God let us go. I'm walking by myself. It's not true. God wants to make you grow. So what happens is we can't run away from pain, because pain is the catalyst for growth, and growth is non-negotiable. If you think growth is negotiable, see what the price for regret is. So growth has to happen, and in order to have growth, I have to have pain in my life. I have to be uncomfortable. I have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. So the Baal Shem Tov says here, when the child walks a bit more, the parent withdraws even further. So the more we get, we feel God is there, He's away. It's like this constant revelation. He's here, He's not here, He's here, He's not here. He's there all the time, but free will has to happen. That's where man has to have endurance, man has to have stamina, and man has to be tough. But it's God Himself is holding your hand, and He's walking away just so you can get stronger. Otherwise, you would never walk. What's the purpose of a kid on training wheels the whole life, right? Parents afraid to get the training wheels off the bike. What happens? He can never ride a bicycle. It would be cruel to do that. So any opposition that we have today, it's only due to God's kindness, that He wants us to grow. He wants us to learn examples from situations. He's basically taking off the training wheel so you could become who you're supposed to be. So that's something we have to understand. So sometimes what happens is we let our emotions ride our intellect, and we make the wrong decisions. We quit, etc. The Baal Shem Tov says another example. He says when a person comes into a store, they sell many types of delicacies. What happens? The first thing the shopkeeper does, he gives you a piece to try. Here's a piece of candy. Here's a piece of candy. What do you like? Do you like it? Yes. Okay, what do you say? Okay, I want more. No. Now you have to pay. So what does God do to us? He gives us a taste of who we should be. He gives us a taste. So one day, all of a sudden, you'll start doing a good hisbodedut. You'll start praying to God. You'll get an unbelievable enthusiasm that day, right? That's the free candy. You want to see how this feels like? Now you got to pay the price. So why? Because if we got it so easy, there would be no test. So what does He say here? He says when the storekeeper says, now you have to pay for everything you take. The free sample of light is God when a person first starts drawing closer to spirituality. Okay, you're going to tell me, what is so into the spirituality? Look at everybody else. They're not spiritual. They have money. But let me explain to you something. Money and quality of life is completely different. You can have money, but you can have a miserable life. You're always anxious. You can't sleep. You know how many CEOs that can't sleep? You know how many people that are worried about their spouse? They're worried about this. Their whole life is that means your quality of life is up to Yirat Shamayim. So, yeah, there's people out there that are successful, but are they happy? That's another question. But all happy people are successful. That means not all successful people are happy, but all happy people are successful. That's the difference. So unless we're in control with our soul, we can never get. So now we know that, unfortunately, we have to pay a price. That means any kind of light that I want from God, whether it's any kind of spiritual goal, it could be for a guy giving up his girlfriend and marrying a Jewish girl. It could be for keeping the Brit. It could be for another guy doing his bodedut. It could be for another person, their test in faith. This is a tranquility tax you have to pay. It doesn't come for free. You're not going to read a magazine, The Science of Mindfulness, and think that's going to help you. No, all the answers are inside. So again, what kind of person would I want to be today if I didn't worry about my feelings? Where would you be today? Think about it. Think about all the things we procrastinate, all the things we give into, all because of feelings. Imagine what kind of person. What would you do in this world if you couldn't fail? So that's the attitude I started taking. You know what? I'm going to go anytime I have a feeling that I don't like, that's good for me, I'm going to do the exact opposite. Because I know it's coming from the Yetzer Hara. Once you're able to tell the Yetzer Hara where you're going to go, you can do anything in the world. Any goal you have, you attack it. But what does the Yetzer Hara do? He keeps you in comfort. Comfort. So this is something that we have to practice. Time under tension. We have to practice. That means we have to get comfortable with a little tension. And we have to be tough. Because otherwise, I don't feel like praying. I don't feel like going to the class. I don't feel like listening to this class. I don't feel like doing this. I don't feel like going out with that guy. I don't feel like reading Tikkun HaKlali. Okay. What are you going to do with all those feelings? So that's something that we have to understand, that anything spiritual that's good for you, the feeling is not going to come. The behavior, once you fight the feeling, then you're going to feel great. But until then, you have obstacles to get to that level. Understand, that's the way it is. So you see today, people start and then it's so hard for them just to pick up a book and say 10 Psalms. Why is it so difficult? Because the Yodh of Hara knows that if he starts reading this, you're going to change your life. So he puts something in your head. And this is what Rav Nachman says, that each person has an obstacle services creator, such as anything he's doing, it's literally according to your ability. It's not more than you can handle. Sometimes we could say, God, you gave me this test. It's too much that I can't handle this. It's too much. How could I do this? That belief is completely off. That means God gives a person any kind of obstacle is only according to your ability. He doesn't give you more. He doesn't give you less. You might think it's more, but it's all in your head. It's all in your head. So any obstacle that a person has, again, this is not easy. So now we have to understand that God does not give me any obstacle more than I can handle. If I have that belief already, and I believe that, what am I going to say? Life is a challenge. Bring it on. What do I want to do next? If I think that God gives me more than I can handle, He's being cruel, then I say life is a threat. That's when I get anxious. I can't take this. I'm overwhelmed. Why is He doing this to me? And then you don't do nothing, because all actions are belief-based. That means whether you think you can or you think you can, you're right. Whether you think you can or you think you can, you're absolutely right. What does Rav Nachman say? That the greatest obstacle of all are the ones in the mind, between your intellect and the heart. When the heart is not into it, that's the biggest obstacle. That's why a person has such struggle, because his heart's not there. If your heart is not into the relationship, what happens? You quit. You don't put attention to it. So that's where the passion, that's where the feelings, all this comes upon. So that's what he's telling us here, that everything happens. So what do we do when we have these crooked heart? What am I supposed to do if my heart becomes cold? Because if I don't have passion, then my heart automatically becomes cold. What am I supposed to do to get rid of this cold feeling? I have to scream out. When I scream out, that thunder breaks the crookedness of the heart. So that's what we have to do. That means God doesn't want you to be angry. He wants you to be hungry. Not angry when things don't work out. He wants you to want it more. He wants you to build desire. Anger doesn't do nothing but tell your ego that you're right and justify. He wants you to develop ratzon. What is ratzon? Will. Desire. Willpower comes from the word ratzon. So, hungry, yes. Angry, no. And he's gonna talk about the key element to do. Okay, so that's that. So we know we have to cool down our impulse and heat up our vision. Think about today. What is the one thing? What's the one thing that's stopping you from hitting goals? That you're always tired. You can't take any new challenges. You can't grow. Remember, growth is not negotiable. So what's causing me to be exhausted? Is it my thinking? Is it my not forgiving somebody maybe? Is it my diet? We know that willpower is connected to glucose. That means if I'm eating the wrong foods, I'm going up, and guess what? I'm going down. And when I go down, I'm not going to be motivated to work on my spirituality. I'm not going to be motivated to do anything. So stress, food, overthinking, all these things, what do? They kill your willpower. If you don't have the mental strength to take on a new challenge, then you're going to say, why? I can never get anything done. What's wrong with me? What happens is dopamine has a price. Anytime you get dopamine quickly, you're going to pay a price for it. Because you go up and you go down. Same thing with phones also. I say to myself, before 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, I'm already doing my Hizbodedut, I'm already doing this, I'm already doing all my spiritual things. By 9 o'clock, then I'll start with my phone, I'll post a class. Before then, I don't deal with my phones. I don't deal with my phones, because what does the phones do? It kills your willpower. That means 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, you're exhausted. If I'm 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, I'm exhausted, what kind of goals am I making? What kind of decisions? And remember, the famous rule, every decision we make is based on how we feel. 90% of our decisions are based on our feelings. So this is something where I'm not into motivation, I'm into strategy. I want to give people strategy. The reason why I have classes every day, because every single day, what happens? If you start questioning your thinking, if you start questioning and breaking patterns with Torah, what happens? You won't get exhausted, because you're going to look at something completely different, you're going to reframe it, and then you won't waste your mental energy on stupidity. There is no way that I would get to where I am today if I didn't master willpower, if I didn't master my thinking, I wasn't careful what I focused on. A lot of people, again, they focus on things they can't control. You're dwelling on something you can't control. What a waste of energy. What a waste of energy. It's like the game's over and the guy's rooting for the team to win. The game's over already. You understand? The game's over. So we don't want to focus. We want to say, Hashem, what can I control and what can I not control? I want to write down the things that I control. I can control what I think about, right? I can't control whether I'm going to make money tomorrow. If I make a deal, if I sell a customer, I'm going to say, oh, is he going to buy? Is he not going to buy? What's going to be tomorrow? What's going to happen this? I can't control that. So what does the Yodh of Hara do? He makes you overthink. When you overthink so much, he drags your energy. And then you don't have the ability to do anything. And we can't go work out after a long day of stressing out and work. You're not going to be able to because you're exhausted. So that's something we have to cut. We have to cut patterns. That's why I stress all the time the ability to play offense, not defense. That means, how many points can I score if I'm playing defense in my life? I have to create opportunities, not react to life. If I create opportunities, I'm playing offense. If I react to life, then I'm just reacting to problems all day long. What can I do? Imagine you're at a store all day long, you're waiting for customers to return merchandise. You can't sell anything. So we have to create opportunities. We have to create. You have to go start the day. How do you create opportunities? You start telling God how abundant you feel in your life. God, I feel so abundant. Even if I don't feel like it, I'm going to find a way to feel abundant. If I wake up in the morning and tell God, look at all the things I'm lacking. Look at all the things I'm lacking. Look at all the stresses in my life. What happens? You lose your energy, you lose your willpower. Why would you wake up in the morning if you feel like all your lackings and be motivated to talk to God? Why would you do that? You're down, you're finished, you lost it, you're exhausted, you feel God's being cruel to you. So what are you going to do when somebody's cruel? You're going to stay away. You're going to hide. You understand? But if you think God's merciful, and you think God's great, and God's abundant, and I feel abundant, then what am I going to do? Thank you, I feel so abundant. We gave the class last week. Remember, the key to your real happiness is giving. And we can never give if we don't get out of our heads, and if we don't get out of ourselves. So that's the key. That's when you really feel happiness, when you're able to give. Okay? So play offense. How do we play offense? We wake up in the morning, we have a gratitude list. We wake up in the morning focusing on our strengths. We wake up in the morning and we start the day with abundance. We start the day feeling abundant. God, I am abundant. I'm happy right now. I don't need a shidduch to get happy. I don't need this to be happy. I feel abundant right now. If you want to give it to me, it's wonderful. If you don't want it to give me, that's also wonderful. If you walk around like that, it's not easy, but you can train your mind to do anything. Just like you can train your mind to think of the worst, you can train your mind to think of the best, right? Your subconscious has no idea who you are. You could tell them you're in Alaska, or you could tell them you're in Key West, your subconscious wouldn't know the difference. It wouldn't know the difference where you are. It doesn't have an iPhone. So if a person could say, God, I feel abundant, life is great, you would have so much abundance of energy, and with that energy, guess what happens? Then you have your willpower is strong. Then what happens? All your actions, you're attacking the world. You approach life instead of avoid life. We don't want to avoid life. We want to approach life. I'm approaching opportunities. If you say every single day, God, look how much abundance you have in this world. Look how many opportunities in this world. Every day there's opportunities. Business is dead. Where are you going to go with that? So reality doesn't go anywhere. We have to make the turn. He says, all roads of reality lead to the land of suffering. Avoidance is not coping, it's crashing. When you avoid life, you're crashing. It's not coping, it's crashing. So we need to understand that. We need to get good at that. So let's talk about lesson 66, which Rav Nachman literally tells us the key to our success. So remember, play offense, not defense. And don't complain why you're losing 21-0 every first quarter. Because you wake up and you focus, you haven't mastered your mornings. The ability to master your morning is the key to everything. Listen to anybody who's successful. Meditation, prayer, positive attitude in the morning, music in the morning. That's where you want to pump the day, because that energy will give you so much energy throughout the day. If I start it in the morning already with no battery on my phone, I'm looking for chargers all day long. You didn't charge your phone all day long. Where's the charger? Where's the charger? I can't even make a phone call. You want to start with the phone 100% battery. And then I'll decide where I'm going to waste my energy on. You want to waste your energy on things that are productive, not things you can't control. So any kind of being in the past, waking up in the morning, thinking about all the past traumas, that's wasting energy. That's cortisol all day long running, and you're not getting even paid for it. At least if you have cortisol when you work out, you burn calories and you get endorphins. But if you just have cortisol for absolutely no reason, you're just giving your energy away, you destroy your willpower little by little. And then when we're exhausted, what do we do when we have no willpower? Then we eat the wrong foods. So that jacks your mind, that jacks you up on dopamine, and then you crash again. It's the never-ending cycle of a rut. So what I'm telling people, guys, is cut the patterns. Cut. Break patterns. Very important. Lesson 66. This is one of my favorite classes, favorite Torahs from Rav Nachman. And he tells us the key to hitting any kind of spiritual goal. What are the elements? What do we need to do to hit the goals that we want in our lives? It's an unbelievable Torah. He says, before one can turn potential into actual, everything, remember, we are co-creators with God. God gives you an idea so you can develop the idea. Based on your gifts, based on your talents, God gave you that idea. You have to now develop it based on connecting to your soul. Bottom line. Everything starts, it's all bound together. Now what happens, I have a dream to buy a house. Now what do I have to do? Now it gets separated. Okay, what do I do next? I gotta call the contractor, I gotta call the architect. Same goal in everything in your life, it has to go through this step. Potential to actual, and your job is to get it back to one. That's it. Get the olive back to one. That's our jobs. And based on our missions, based on our things, we are given this because he says here that God gave us to be co-creators. He gave you the ability to create what you want, not what you don't want. Remember, anytime that our job is, anytime we're in a tzimtzum, anytime we're in a contraction of light, our job is one thing, just to keep our heart open. Keep my heart open. If I have my heart open, God will tell me what I need to do next. If I have my heart closed, then what happens? I already decided what my outcome is. If I already decided what my outcome is, I can't have a new beginning. That's what the scary part is about. So our job is to constantly not stop creation. I mean, creation stops when you have a dysfunctional belief, a dysfunctional thought that you believe in. That stops creation, then your heart cannot be open. If your heart can't be open, then that's your story. So it's not the strategy. The strategy that's not succeeding, it's the people's stories. It's the story that's keeping you in the problem, not the strategy. Everybody knows what to do, but the story behind it, I tried, I failed, I tried, I failed, I tried, I failed. So just like he says here, for any time you want to build a house, everything has to go through this olive, concept of olive. Potential to actual. Anything you need to do in your life. Potential to actual. That's the main goal. Now, going from potential to actual, remember this is the Aleph, if we break it down to 2 Yodhs and a Vav, it's 26, it's God's names. It's God's name. God's name of Yod Ke Vav Ke. So that's that Aleph that we always have to work on putting back together. Okay? So anything, we have to initially think, sometimes it's not going to work out, this is not going to, if God gave you a thought and it looks good, you have to run with it. Don't put doubts. Doubts is a malik. Doubts come from the Yodh of Hara. What happens is our obstacles are in our mind. It's not, we know what to do, but we have obstacles because of our mind. So he says something very, very important. Now, everything that exists in the world contains 3 elements: space, form, and time. What, where, and how. This is the process of any kind of creation that I want to do in my life. Whether it's starting his bodhidut, whether it's getting married, whether it's everything has to go through these 3 steps process. Space, form, and time, okay? For example, you have to think of a location for a house, then you have to decide how long it's going to take to build, and where it's going to be built. That's a practical example. But anything that we want, whether it's a business, it has to go through these 3 steps of creation. That's what Rav Nachman's telling us here. Now, what happens is this. The one problem, the big issue we have here is time. That means everything has a specific time that it has to endure. But unfortunately, if I don't manage patience, which is the biggest level of keter, is ayin, which is this level of humility, which is the level of never giving up. That's what keter means. Keter means katar, weight. It's the highest light of energy, highest light of everything. It comes from keter. The word will. Ratzon comes from there. Our ability to master patience is one of the biggest factors determining whether or not I hit a goal or not. The ability of my patience. What does he say here? The two spirits are produced by a mitigation of wrath. If I don't have patience, what am I going to do? I'm going to get frustrated. I'm going to say it's not for me. I tried it, and what do? I abort my goal. I abort my goal. If you can't master, that's why you need willpower. Willpower is to be able to develop patience, to control your breath. Look what he's saying here. He's saying, because haron af, which means wrath, says, God forbid, is the aspect of smoke emerging from nostrils. We know our breath, right? If I have patience, what do? I breathe. Calm down. It's going to work out. Don't let your feelings take over you. But if I don't have patience, what do? I'm not mastering. I have anger. What is anger? Hot smoke coming from my nose. You ever see the cartoons with the hot smoke? Your ability to hit your goals or not hit your goals are determining. One of the major aspects is the ability to control your patience or anger. If I don't have patience, that means if I'm not there yet, right? We all get frustrated when things are not working out. Correct. So what am I supposed to do there? What am I doing? I'm supposed to desire. That means when I'm not where I want to be, number one thing I need to do is desire. Desire creates that hunger. God wants the hunger. It's just like he's going to say, when you take a toy away from a kid, what does the kid do? What does he say? Give it to me more, right? What does the kid say? Give it to me more. Give me the toy. I want the toy. What does an adult say? Forget it. Forget it. Your whole goal is given to you, only to you. But what happens? You don't have the patience. And that's why Reb Nachman says financially that smoke is detrimental to one's livelihood. Your ability to have money in the bank or not could just be on your anger. Because what do you have to do? Whenever we have a goal or you have a problem in business, what do we do normally? We're supposed to breathe, have patience. It's going to work out. The next customer will come. But if I can't control my emotions, that same breath, instead of breathing in, breathes out. I get frustrated, I throw in the towel, and you know what Reb Nachman says? That right before money comes to a person, he gets tested with anger. Because the Yodh of Hara knows that this guy's going to receive a success. He says, not so easy. Let me test him first. So God allows the Yodh of Hara to test you and to see. You might go down on a tortilla. You might go down on the stupidest things in the world. But that has to come before wealth comes. So that's what he says here, that smoke is detrimental to one's livelihood. Livelihood is by the means that we turn in potential to actual. When a person has an income, he's not determined another one. That's what he says here. Smoke is harmful to the eyes. Why? Because anger, what does anger do? It blocks my vision. Right? If I have smoke, I can't see. What is anger? It blocks my vision. It blocks my ability to think. I'm busy reacting to life. So if I cannot control, that means I can all of a sudden be at home with my wife. My wife suggests something to me. I could say, what do you know about anything? That deal that was supposed to come to you the next day, bye-bye. Bye-bye. Say goodbye to the deal. The deal was done at Friday afternoon. It was tested for you. Sunday, the deal's done. You blew it. So if you continue to do this, a girl tells me, my husband has my husband has a big anger problem. I said, I can guarantee you also probably have a parnasa problem. How did you know? Oh, because that's all connected. Anger and parnasa are all in line. So if a girl wants to go out with a guy, you need to see, can this guy control his patience? Because he can have tremendous mazal. But if you can't control your anger, what happens? What happens? You lose the money. You lose the money. The money goes to the other side. So anger is that's why you bring me a business partner with anger? Bye-bye. No, thank you. I don't care if the guy has the key to the Coke recipe to Nassau. Not interested. Not interested. So anger is something you want to stay away from. Because what is anger? Anger is the biggest form of arrogance. Because you don't like the way God's running the world. So what are you going to do? Scream. Even though that test was given to you only to test you. Because money doesn't come easy. It comes from the left. Money comes from Gevura. That's why I tell my Moroccan brothers, you got to chill out. You're leaving a lot of money on the table. For what? Learn how to breathe. Got to learn how to breathe. Start breathing. Breathe. When you breathe, you transform. Because what is extension of breath? When I breathe, I have vitality. I have contemplation. Rav Nachman says that your breathing affects the way you think. So if I'm not taking in that breath and I'm giving out that breath, money's going with it. So we have to, that's why the word chema, which means anger, and choma means wall. That's your wall. That's your protection. You knock down the wall. So sometimes if we have a habit of being angry, we have to start whispering if you have to. Do what you have to do. Put signs on your doors. I'm an angry person. I need to watch my anger. Put a sign, anger /$, cross. Do what you have to do. Do what you have to do. There was a big tzaddik, I don't know. You know what he did? He put in his yeshiva, in his dorm, he put a sign, I am a smoker. So every time he would go to the door, he would be embarrassed that people would see that, but he wouldn't be smoking. Do whatever you need to do to prevent anger. Start you doing yoga. Do whatever you have to do, because this one, not only will you not hit your financial goals, but you won't hit any goals, because that's the key factor to not allowing a person to develop his character, or even in his bodhidut. Rav Nachman says that improper his bodhidut leads to anger. That means if you're walking out of meditation angry, you got big issues. What is anger out of? My prayer wasn't accepted. So when I see these patterns in people, I say, first you have to humble yourself right away. Because arrogance is the number one factor for a person, for God removes himself from that picture. That's why anger is compared to, God forbid, idol worshiping. It's a big risk. It's a big risk, anger. So that's that concept. So now we know that everything has to go through space, time, and element. So again, we already spoke about what is real disappointment. Disappointment is really expectations. Reality is disappointment. So we have to, our disappointment has to be, our expectations have to, I'm not saying don't go for goals, but just because you prayed yesterday doesn't mean it's going to happen today. It can happen tomorrow. It can happen the next day. That's one thing I felt very bad on. I would pray, okay, I'm waiting for the FedEx envelope, for the Amazon Prime to deliver the prayer. And you know what that really happens? Not only do you not get answered, but it's arrogance. What, you think you're so good that you prayed perfectly, that you deserve the package right away? So you don't want that prayer, you're looking for the drone to deliver the thing you prayed for. This is the generation today, right? It doesn't happen like that. God will answer to you when you let go. You pray out of love and you let go. Don't sit there and look for drones in the middle of your hisbodeduts, because you're gonna get exhausted of praying. That's why people get exhausted. They get exhausted because it's not getting answered right away, and they say, "What's the point? I keep on praying, nothing's happening because you're praying the wrong way." Pray and let go. Just pray. God, I want to do your will. I want to get married. Please give me the opportunity. But when you pray with so much expectations, you're tired, you're exhausting yourself for no reason. So again, it's not fun, but in order to potential to actual, I must master willpower, I must master self-control, I must master patience. So if we can't master those, our goals unfortunately that means if a person has an anger problem, Rabbi Rush says for 30 days straight, you should pray for it, only that. Don't pray for anything else. Don't pray for anything else but I have an anger problem. Please help me with my anger. Go to the mikvah is a great thing for anger. If a person has an anger problem, take a dip. Take a dip in the mikvah. Find the mikvah. Why? Because mikvah, what do you do when you go to the mikvah? You're making yourself into nothing. Right? When you go to the mikvah, you're bound to zero. You're nothing. That's when a person goes to the mikveh, he can create himself brand new. That's why it's a segula to go to the mikveh. That's how much you have to attack anger. So, he says, once the letters of speech are made, so now what is Rav Nachman saying here? That everything has to go through thought, speech, and actions. That means that the ability to hit my goals once has to go through thought, speech, and actions. So what does he say here? He says, once the letters of speech are made whole, one must express the words perfectly. Anytime I have a goal, if my goals are not backed with prayer before, prayer is what's going to give the goal wheels. Without the proper prayer, what happens? I don't give the goal wheels. So what is he saying here? Sometimes the letters of speech get caught in the narrowness of your throat. We know Meitzar, Mitzrayim, it's Egypt, right? So sometimes our speech gets stuck in our throat, right? We want to say, it's nothing to say. I have nothing to say. So what do we have to do? We have to articulate the words. We have to fight. That means if nothing's coming out, your hisbodedut should be, Hashem, I'm trying to talk to you, and I'm not saying anything. I can't even say nothing. And that's your hisbodedut for that day. Please help me open up my mouth. Because remember, we have to go from Meitzar, which is Egypt, to Pesach. Opening your mouth. How do I get to Pesach? I have to go from Meitzar, from the narrowness of my throat, Mitzrayim, to Pesach. How do I do this? I need to scream out in prayer. So that's what he's saying here. He's saying sometimes our speech we want to articulate. But to be able to speak perfectly, one has to extract from the vowels. Because the vowels is exactly what gives life force to something. That means my desire. That means the first thing a person should say, if any kind of goal you want, it has to start with a desire. What do you want? Express it. I can't hit a goal without saying, what do I want? And then once I decide what I want, that I have to hit that what I want in prayer and desire. As it says here, the Zohar says, because all of a person's thoughts enter into speech. This is that we find the Zohar. His lips whisper thoughts. So again, this is all connected. That means whatever I'm thinking about, if I'm dwelling on something that I don't want, the Zohar is telling you it's going to eventually come out of your mouth. So what do we say? It's not going to work out. Instead of saying it is going to work out, what do we say? It's not going to work out. So you have to be very careful what you think about. Because if you're thinking the wrong thing, you're going to end up saying it. Because it's eventually going to come out of your mouth. And then, guess what? Abracadabra. What does abracadabra mean? I create with my words. You create your reality. See the cycle? If I'm not careful what I'm thinking about, what's going to happen? I'm going to end up saying it. And then I'm going to say what I don't want to say. And then, how did I get here? I think I'm going to be in a pit tomorrow. Keep on thinking you're going to be in a pit tomorrow. Next thing is, oh my God, I'm going to be in a pit tomorrow. And then you're going to say, how did I get in the pit? Stop the thought. Break the pattern of thinking. If there's something you don't want, don't give it energy. Something you don't want, cut the cord. Cut the umbilical cord. Because the Zohar says before your speech, if the mind is not settled, the speech is going to be reckless. And that's what he's saying here. Because anything to go from potential to actual, we have to go through speech. So now we know speech is non-negotiable. If I want to hit a goal, if I want Shalom Bayit, I have to say, Hashem, I want Shalom Bayit. Specifically. That's the beginning. How do I get there? What do I need to change? Hashem, I need to make parnasa for my kids. I need to succeed in this. Please help me. That's the beginning. That means desire and speech. Speech. And then, that's what he says here, because without desire, it is impossible to do nothing. Desire, it comes from the highest of lights, called the light of Keter, which is connected to patience, which is connected to speech. Remember, nobody wants to spend time speaking now. Everybody wants it now, quickly. Quickly, what's going on? I don't have time to wait. I don't have time to speak. I don't have time for this. So you never develop who you are. See the pattern is? Going nowhere faster is not leading you anywhere. So what does he say here? Because without desire, it's impossible to do nothing. So what does he say? He says, to the extent of a person's desire, listen to this, is determining principally by the obstacle that heaven arranged for you. Everybody has a specific obstacle. Everybody has a weakness that we have, and that's the weakness that you have to attack like your head's on fire. Because that's the weakness that you came here to fix in this world. We all have a different thing to fix. Whether it's anger, whether it's problems with lust, problems with this. Whatever our problem is, our predominant factor, we have to create a desire. Because what's happening, that could be the thing that's stopping our whole life from growing to us. So what is he saying here? Just as God supplies us with desire for spiritual accomplishments, He also has to arrange the obstacles and the barriers that we have to overcome to see it. So here's the obstacle course. Here's what you want, but I'm going to give you the obstacle course. Don't think you're going to get anything in life without an obstacle course. And the obstacle course, the word obstacle is neimot. Meniot. Meniot means obstacles, challenges. What your job in life is to turn meniot into neimot. Once you pass the obstacle, it becomes pleasure. You understand? My job is to turn the obstacle into potential to actual through passing challenges. So if a person has a challenge in something, it's not a problem. It's specifically if something that you're trying and you're not getting there, the whole purpose is for you to get more desire. Just like somebody took a toy away from a kid. The reason why you're not succeeding in it is because you don't want it enough. That's what Rav is telling you. It says a person is prevented from attaining the thing that is crucial for him. Because the more a thing is withheld from a person, the more he wants it. So if something is bothering me that I can't do, that I'm having struggles with, that's probably the thing I need to do. The thing that bothers me, whether it could be faith, it could be prayer, it could be shalom bayit, anything spiritual that I'm having a rough time in having, that's the thing. I know people they have anxiety attacks all day long. Their whole tikkun in life is to have trust in life and in God. Because maybe in another rectification they didn't have trust. Maybe they have to fix that. You understand? So our whole job here is literally to take potential into actual. But we have to understand that there's a price to pay and there's obstacles to come. It's not going to come easy. That's why you see so many people. They start, obstacles, no, it's too much for me. I can't take it. Why is this happening all the time? In pregnancies all the time, God forbid. All these things. Why? Because everything Rav Nachman is saying is just like a birth of a child. In order for you to have a birth of a child, you have to scream out 70 times. Just like a mother screams out 70 times, because that represents a birth. A woman will never have a baby without contractions. It's impossible. It's against creation. So whatever we have in our life, the reason why we're not getting there, and God forbid we're having a spiritual abortion, is because we don't want to put the time in, we don't want to cry out in prayer. That's why I spend all my time in prayer. Maybe 1% worrying, 99% praying. People spend 1% praying, 99% worrying. That's a recipe for absolutely disaster. You have to convert your overthinking into speech. God did not give you a mouth to create excuses. He gave you a mouth to create vessels. So now I understand. What is my number one challenge? And that's why he's saying here, when a person knows that the barriers that keep him from doing something, it's an indication that the desired goal for him is very great. That means that's where you need to do. That's specific. A person has to know. We all have this issue. We all have one thing that's stopping us. That's the number one thing that I have to break. It could be Shabbat. People are having struggle with Shabbat. That's the one thing you need to do. Whatever it is in your life, you need to figure it out what it is, and you need to attack it and saying, I don't care, I have resilience. I'm going to attack it, and these obstacles, the reason why I have these obstacles, it's not because I'm a bad person, it's because these obstacles are just telling me, the reason why God is taking something away from me is so I would have a desire to want it more. Just like anything with anything. If I have an obstacle, it's only to get you to want it more. Because when something is taken away from you, just like a child, naturally you should say, give it to me more. Not, I can't, it's too much, I'm done. I tried. Excuses. So you need discipline, you need to be able to silence your mind, and you need to go for the goal. And Rav Nachman saying this is the key to anything goal. Anything goal in our life is to turn potential to actual. That means if I am not there yet, if I'm not where I need to be, I need to do one thing. Pray and desire it. That's the formula. Anything else but prayer and desire doesn't work. And remember, the ability to develop our goals is also based on our patience. Why? Because patience gives you character. And I can't have patience without emunah. So it's all connected. It's all connected. So now we have to, number one thing I would work on is breathing. That's why Angela Duckworth, what did she say? Number one factor in success in any, that means not smart kid, not smart. Being able to be resilient, passion and perseverance. That's the formula she's saying here. Greatest stamina, greatest sticking with your future. Remember, your soul loves the journey. The ego loves the prize. The soul loves the journey because who do you become in that person? So what do you become when you get that goal? What do you become when you fight your obstacles? What do you become when you go against your nature, when it's hard to you to break up with that girl, to marry a Jewish girl? You know who you become? You go into your soul state. So may Hashem help us that we should turn our potential into actual using these tools, which is patience. You shouldn't ask, why am I not getting answered yet? You have no business asking. That's the time to be hungry, not angry. So we need patience, we need perseverance, we need mental strength, we need willpower. These are all factors that are connected to do it. So again, if anybody wants to buy a great book, it's called Grit by Angela Duckworth. And she even went to West Point Academy, which is the toughest school to go. It's the toughest academy. And only like 10% to 50% of the people make it there. It's like a hell week. And not the smartest, but the people that says, I can, and they were willing to use desire to get there. All right? That's this class.